Okay, so this lecture is about using significant figures to do math. So we've learned how to find the number of sig figs within a figure, in a number. So today we're going to talk about how we use that when we're actually doing math problems. So we're going to start with adding and subtracting with sig figs. And I'm going to tell you, a few of you have some sophisticated calculators that will do sig figs for you, but be careful, they're not always accurate, okay? Sometimes they'll give you the wrong answer. So be very leery of depending solely on your calculator. You need to understand the rules so that you can always go back and check your answer, because I won't give you credit if you say your calculator did it, okay? So you need to know exactly how to work these. So when we add and subtract with significant figures, the answer that we get after we've worked the problem must have the same number of significant figures after the decimal as the least precise number in the problem. And that sounds really wordy, and I'm going to show you exactly what that means. But basically, just keep this in mind. Look for the fewest places after the decimal. So let's just say that I have a problem and I have 8.721 plus 4.2. Okay, so real easy little addition problem. So we could go ahead and plug it in your calculator, or you could work it out. And so when you work that one out, you get 12921, which is right. I would give you partial credit on that because you've got the right answer. The problem is this answer is not in significant figures. Okay, so now you'll understand why we have to round the way that we round. So to figure out how many sig figs I need in this answer, I have to go back and look at the problem, okay? So since this is an addition problem, we follow this little rule. We're going to look for the places after the decimal. So look right here and tell me, how many sig figs do you have after the decimal right here? And of course, you see there's 3. And then right here, how many sig figs are after the decimal there? And of course, that is 1. So that means that I go with the fewest, which would be this one. So I don't even worry about this. I'm just going to write it down. It doesn't count towards my sig figs. And then I'm just going to underline the very first number, because that's my 1 sig fig, because I'm trying to match that. And I always need to check behind it to make sure it doesn't round up. So if it's 5 or greater, I would round up. But this is a 2, so it's going to stay a 9. So my answer would be 2.9. Okay, so the fewest places, fewest sig figs after the decimal. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's say that I have 12.6241 minus 8.31. Okay, so 12.6241, and I'm going to subtract 8.31, and when I do, I get 4.3141. Okay, so now I go look over here, and this one has 1, 2, 3, 4 significant figures right here, and this one has 2 sig figs right there. So my answer needs to match this. So I'm going to look at the 3, it's significant. The 1 is significant. I look at the 4 behind it, and it does not round up. So my answer is 4.31. Okay, because it matches the same number of significant figures after the decimal. What about this one? 15 minus, let's say, 5.725. Okay, so 15 minus 5.725, and you get 9.275. Okay, so looking at it, how many significant figures does this one have after the decimal? That's right, a big 0. And this one right here has 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 sig figs. So if we're going with the fewest, that would be 0. So I just put down my 9, and I make sure that this isn't going to round it up, and it doesn't. So my answer would be 9. Okay, so that's the gist of doing addition and subtraction. So remember, you're always looking at the places after the decimal to determine how many places you need to go after the decimal. And I will tell you, addition and subtraction gives people more trouble than multiplication and division. And luckily, we don't use it quite as much as we do multiplication and division, but you still need to know how to do it. So you have some problems for you to work on a worksheet to kind of give you a little bit of extra practice on this. But before we sign off, we need to talk about the other way we do math with sig figs, which would be, of course, the other types of problems, multiplying and dividing. So multiplying and dividing is a lot easier because basically your answer must have the same number of sig figs as the number with the fewest in the problem. So basically you're looking for the fewest number of sig figs anywhere in the problem. So let's look at this one. Let's say that I have 942 and I want to multiply it by 87. So 942 times 87, and that's going to give me 81954. Okay. So now I need to go look at my numbers in the problem. So this one have 1, 2, 3 sig figs, and this one has 1, 2 sig figs. So my answer needs to have 2 sig figs. So start at the left and say, okay, 8 is significant, and then 1 is significant. And then I'm going to look behind it, and that obviously is going to round that 1 up to a 2. So it becomes 82. But if you were expecting a check for $81,954 and someone sent you a check for 82, are you going to go hunt them down to find the rest of your money? Absolutely you are. So what we have to do is we have to add some zeros in as placeholders. Remember, they're not significant, so we can add those in. So my answer becomes 82,000. Work this one for me. Let's see, we have 15 times 3, which of course is 45. Okay, so 2 sig figs here, 1 sig fig here, so my answer needs to have 1. So I'm going to look at that 4. 5 rounds it up, so it becomes a 5, and I need to put a placeholder, so it becomes 50, 1 sig fig. Okay, we do the same thing on division. So if I have 1,642,906, and I want to divide it by 142. So I'm going to punch it in, 1,642,906 divided by 142. And I'm going to get 11,569.76056. But this isn't going to work because I need to do in sig figs. So I'm going to go over here. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is this 0 significant? Yes, because it's sandwiched. So that's 7 sig figs. Right here we have 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 sig figs. So my answer needs to have 3. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. Look behind it, and that rounds it up. So it becomes 11,600, and that's our answer. Okay. So now that we've gone over addition and subtraction, we've gone over multiplication and division, you should be able to work any problem that we do in this class. And you just have to make sure your answer always matches the problem with significant figures. We will practice this so much that it will become second nature. But from this point on, I will expect every answer that you do to show significant figures. If you have any questions about any of the problems in the worksheet or something that we went over here, feel free to shoot me an email or a text, and I'll be glad to answer it for you. Talk to you later.